I'm not meaning to pick on GB News, but they seem to be emblematic of the mainstream media while trying to pretend there's something different from the mainstream media. And because they're not very good at hiding everything and thinking about everything from different angles, and they keep trying different techniques that have been found to be leaky techniques by the actual mainstream media, and they stopped using those techniques years ago. It allows us to see a little bit inside the constructed television media that we're used to, this mainstream GB News. And lots of people are like, oh, but Neil Oliver's on GB News, and they try and tell the truth, but from a different angle, and they believe in Farage and other things. They give a platform to some people who don't get given a platform on other mainstream media platforms. That does not mean that I think that that's a bad thing or anything like that. I really not being a fan of something doesn't mean I don't like elements of what they do, but they are really bad at hiding what they do when it's a little bit sus. So here we go. What are we going to do? Israel Hamas war still going on, isn't it? So what's going on? Let's find out what's happening. What's this title? The title of this piece is called Israel Hamas War Escalates with 40 Babies Killed in Extraordinary Day of Death and Destruction. That's the headline. With 40 babies killed in extraordinary day of death and destruction. There is zero suspected. There's zero in that title that would lead you to think that 40 babies may not have been killed. So let's read it or listen to it or whatever you do with it. I don't know, shove it in your fucking face like a pasty.
Charlie, thank you very much for joining us at the top of the show.
Charlie!
What have you learned since you've been in Tel Aviv?
He's learned how to suck. Good.
Today has been an extraordinary day of death and destruction. The casualty figures now hurtling into the thousands on both sides.
Hurtling into the thousands on both sides. Well, into the thousands would be double thousands would be 2,000. I don't think that many people got killed on the one side, but it is hurtling into the other on the other side because they're bombing Gaza. They're bombing one of the most densely packed areas in the world. What the hell? They're bombing civilians. Of course there's going to be more. It's just, oh, look how bad those people are, so we're going to do the same thing. Look, they're killing us, so we'll kill them too. It's just like gnome logic. These people are completely and utterly senseless. The whole idea of this, and reporting on it like one side's good and the other side's bad because one side did it first. You did it first. That makes us able to do whatever we want now, and you can't do anything about it. You're always forever the bad guys.
And this has definitely become a complex and multi-fronted war in northern Lebanon.
Multi-fronted war. Why? Well, multi-fronted because the Palestinian people are scattered all over the place, and there's going to be loads of supporters all around the Middle East of Palestine who see this attack by Hamas and the response being attack Palestine as being a problem, an issue. You're attacking the most defenseless people in the world, people who have been put onto a massive concentration camp. Gaza is a concentration camp. Whatever people try and sell it to you as, it's the most densely packed area of people are slowly being both culturally genocided and just genocide. It's just genocide. It's been going on for ages, more than just the past week. The response is, yes, they're awful, they're terrible, but doesn't mean that this hasn't been going on for such a stupid amount of time. Charlie Peters, look at him. He looks like he's ejaculating.
Northern Israel, in the south of Israel, on the border with Gaza, and even up to Tel Aviv, where we are, there have been attacks, both small arms fire and rockets. There's been artillery from the IDF back into Hamas-controlled areas and airstrikes into Gaza. But there have also been more disturbing reports in the south of Israel where...
Here we go. This is the crux of it. This is the more disturbing reports. The 40 babies killed. I'm going to tell you what I think this sounds and reminds me of, because I remember this very distinctly when I was
This
young.
morning, the government claimed it had secured its border with Gaza. That now appears to have not been the case. In the last hour, 2 terrorists were killed in Mefalsim and another was killed in Sderot, areas that the IDF claimed they had cleared with paratroopers. It now seems that that might not be the case as more violence continues. In the last half-hour meeting with troops, Defence Minister Yoav Gallant said that he had released all
Unbelievable.
restraints and that Israel was now going into a full offence.
A full offense. How many Hamas attacked and a full offense in response? The disproportion is immense. They are just killing children. Their response is just going to kill children in the same, even at worse way, even quicker, even more brutal than the other side did. So there's no one who's not going to get killed on both sides. It's no one is good. No one. But one is called a terrorist organization and the other is the actual authorities that are in charge of Israel, not the people of Israel, who are, yes, are probably scared and have been attacked and all of those things, but the rest is just vengeance. It's just the sickest form of everything. What is wrong with these people?
Now, for people in Gaza, this will obviously be extremely concerning as the number of people killed
No
there
doubt.
approaches 1,000 as targeted airstrikes are launched.
This is from a day or so ago. This is already many more people have died. They are leveling parts of Gaza. This is cultural genocide. This is genocide. This is a concrete prisoner of war camp, concentration camp. The most concentrated amount of people in any area being bombarded by fire from above. Little warning. Really? That's, oh, well, I could see who the good people are and who the bad people are. The good people are obviously the people burning to death children, not the people burning to death children. No, the people burning children to death. No, they're all right. But the people burning children to death, they're horrible. Now, the people who are killing innocent women and children, they're horrible. But the people who are killing innocent women and children, they're not horrible. They're good. They're heroes, aren't they? They're the heroes. The heroes are killing women and children, and the heroes, the villains, those dastardly villains, they're killing women and children. Where are we in the world? Realize, you take away the logic, you just dismember the logic, and what you left with? Both sides killing people, both sides. And you're going to take one of those sides? Are you going to be like, a binary? Let's jump on the killing children wagon rather than the killing children wagon, shall we?
But when some of the atrocities become made aware and some of the information coming out of southern Israel reaches the airwaves, the reason for that kind of statement will become more clear, I think, to onlookers. In the last hour, we have heard reports of up to 40 babies being killed in a kibbutz in
Here we go.
southern Israel. I think that...
Okay, so this widely reported 40 babies killed in a kibbutz in southern Israel. And I think a kibbutz is like a community, like an independent community that's built possibly outside the official borders of Israel. I'm not sure if that's true, if that's accurate, but I think everybody will agree it's a group of people who are Israeli Jews, and they've been attacked. No doubt, they've been attacked. And it's horrible that they've been attacked. They should not have been attacked. It's horrible. Then on top of that is a report. It's come from one news source that 40 babies were, first of all, it was beheaded. Loads of people said to beheaded. It came from one person who said that a witness had said to a news source, official mainstream Israeli news channel, that 40 babies had been beheaded. Then it was 40 babies had been murdered. Then it was 40 babies had been burnt to death. And then there was pictures shown apparently showing burnt to death babies. It doesn't give you any idea of what you're actually looking at. You can't tell. It's unrecognizable. It's just charred remains. You can't tell if you're looking at Jewish babies, Palestinian babies. You have no idea where they come from. The evidence, even though part released to the public, was really just only shown to Blinken, the US representative, by Netanyahu, I believe. So they show, no, look, these are pictures of charred bodies of dead babies. And then we'll release them to the public. There's loads of people saying they're AI, they're this, it's an AI picture, it's not even a real picture and stuff. And it's impossible to tell anything from it. And of course, it reminds everybody of the Naira testimony, the false testimony given to the United States Congressional Human Rights Caucus when I was just 10 years old by a 15-year-old girl who at the time basically said that she was, I think she said she was working in the hospital, and explained about the babies being pulled out of incubators and murdered by the Iraqis during the invasion of Kuwait. And George H.W. Bush, of course, used it as a way to get backing for this. The UN responded to other people responded, and it was a false allegation. It was an allegation that seemed so extreme and made people so angry, because it's babies, it's the worst thing you can do. And this, it resembles that so much, and it's impossible to know. The idea that people would kill babies, you'd have to be so sick, wild, horrible person. The fact that they could be bombed and that a building with babies in could be burnt, that could be possible. How that happened or whatever without an investigation, and during an all-out propaganda war right at the start of a war, it's hard to it shouldn't be every news agency reporting that 40 babies killed. That is just a rumor, and they kind of say these rumors, they say they're rumors, they say they're allegations, but then they title the piece Israel-Hamas war escalates with 40 babies killed. It doesn't say possibly killed, it doesn't say allegations of, it doesn't say anything like that. It says escalates with 40 babies killed in extraordinary day of death and destruction. Where is it leading you? It's leading you down a road to be a cuck. There's got to be some form of proper evidence before they start saying that these is matter of fact within the title, and then just mention the allegations or rumors within the piece.
This is the most shocking development of all of the shocking developments we have heard today. It goes beyond the standard massacre and murder that has become commonplace since Saturday. It is a new level of depravity. Many of the people that I've spoken to.
So now he said, understand what he's doing. He said there's, what did he say, rumors, allegations, and now he's reporting it and saying it like this is a different depravity. This is so as though it is true. Listen to how he words it and how he terms it, how it's carefully termed.
As the number of people killed there approaches 1,000 as targeted airstrikes are launched. But when some of the atrocities become made aware, as some of the information coming out.
So when some of the atrocities are made aware, what that means is hard to understand. Do you understand what that means? Let's hear it again.
But when some of the atrocities become made aware.
So when some of the atrocities become made aware, so he's trying to say, what we'd believe, that when we become aware of the atrocities,
some of the information coming out of southern Israel,
and some of the information coming out of southern Israel, this is from one news source who's with an unnamed witness at this stage,
reaches the airwaves, the reason for that kind of statement will become more clear, I think.
The reason for that sort of statement will come more clear. There's been no investigation. There's only allegations. There's a report. But you're saying already a motive.
To onlookers, In the last hour, we have heard reports of up to 40 babies being...
In the last hour, we have heard reports, one report. But that report has then been reported multiple times, so they can say reports. But it's not. It's one person at this point when he's speaking, one person reporting. We've heard one report from an unnamed source at this point through a mainstream Israeli channel that's, of course, going to be aligned with the Israeli government.
Being killed in a kibbutz in southern Israel. I think this
The
is
40
the most
babies have
shocking
been killed in the
development
kibbutz.
of all of the shocking developments.
This is the most shocking development of all the shocking development. What, the report, the allegation, or now you've skipped into reality? This is the most shocking development. This is not, this could be, there's no conditional. There's no conditional. This is the most shocking development. It's already now that we've heard these reports, it's already true. We're now sitting in Congress telling you that babies were pulled out of incubators.
Developments we have heard today. It goes beyond the standard massacre and murder that has become commonplace.
It goes beyond the standard massacre or murder that's become commonplace. It's been out. You can't have commonplace over a few days. You can't have commonplace because it hasn't been commonplace. It's been random murders all over the place and other things. But this idea that suddenly the babies being murdered on this side is much worse than babies being murdered on that side, and that deserves it, and all of these sort of things. This comes from this moment where he's a supposed journalist. I don't think he's probably a journalist. It's a pretty biased report, but it's pretty trying to spark an emotion on reports and allegations. Not just report the allegations, just get involved in the emotive, in the creation of emotion about the allegations.
Since Saturday, it is a new level of depravity. Many of the people that I've spoken to today, fleeing from southern Israel, fleeing from those kibbutzes, reflecting in great misery and shock at that news.
But again, so he's saying he's talked to loads of people today, people running from those kibbutzes who are shocked by those reports. Now, if the initial report is false, overstated, not quite how it's meant to be, then all of those other reports are false. All of those people, their reaction is visceral of the time. It all looks like propaganda. It all reminds me of babies in incubators.
The reports there from the Israeli ambulances and indeed IDF soldiers who cleared out that kibbutz. It's a devastating development.
So he's saying, it is a devastating development, and he's saying Israeli soldiers, yeah, and was it medical women? He's actually stated something else, which is at this point it was only one person had said it to, when he's making this statement, had said it to a reporter.
Who cleared out that kibbutz. It's from the Israeli ambulances and indeed IDF
Israeli
soldiers
ambulances
who cleared
and
out.
Indeed IDF soldiers. So the ambulance services and the IDF soldiers are claiming this, he's saying, but that it wasn't true at that point. It was one person to mainstream, and the story has slightly changed here and there. I'm not sure if it's going to mean that 40 babies are murdered or not. The whole point is you don't know, you can't react. You should not be putting into the mind of your viewers that this is a definite atrocity when it's just a report of something and there's been no sort of proper information that's come out. Then you advance on that to make it not just one report, to make it many reports. Then you advance on that. It comes from all of these different people when that's not how it was at that time he's making these statements. So what's that if not a lie?
That kibbutz. It's a devastating development.
It's
Thank
a devastating
you, Charlie.
development.
Yes, extremely devastating reports if they turn out to be true. You say
Completely devastating reports if they turn out to be true. You get again. at that moment, look, he's looking into the camera. This is propaganda, man. This is not your friend. Charlie is not your friend. Charlie is a propaganda man. I'd love to know what Charlie does. Shall I go and check what Charlie does? Okay, so we're gonna have a look, right? We're gonna have a look, and I've opened up Charlie Peters, this man who's on the screen. I've opened up his LinkedIn page, yeah, and I am going to read out to you. So let's go back to 2016, 2015, about 2012. He first shadowed the assistant brand manager, athletic lounge host for Procter and Gamble. Started off with them, and Aspire Lifestyle got him in his marketing eventually. Didn't last long there. National Fellowship at the Tab, and then he went to work for Spiked for a bit. I always see those types as like, or trying to be who opposes the opposition. And he was an intern there, and then he was an intern at the Telegraph, which of course is a mainstream rag, and then guest editor of Wycombe Journal, Winchester College. Oh, that's interesting. And Charlotte Peters' partner, he's a researcher. I'd like to look into those. CIL management, he's a freelancer. And then for 6 years, so between 2017 to the present day, he's British Army. This guy on your screen, this military guy, he was a soldier on deployment between June 2020 and January 2021, and he was being a reservist. Details for service available upon request, apparently. And shall we say, mobilized for Army Reserve for full-time service when I provided strategic and tactical level support for specialist defense unit on global counter-terrorism operations. Well, that's interesting. And then, of course, during all of that time, he's also a writer and a broadcaster for National Review, American Conservative, Daily Telegraph, Spectator, Mail Plus, Quillette, Unheard, Spiked, and Cap X. Considerable broadcasting experience with Sky News, BBC Television, RT UK, STV, and BBC Radio. And now, from October 2022, he's a presenter, reporter at GB News. So Charlie Peters, who's still in the British Army, is an army boy. Of course he's an army boy. Oh, look, Israel calls up 300,000 reservists. That's what you are. So he's reporting on something that he does know very well. It's like fair to say Charlie Peters understands war pretty well because he has literally a dog in the fight.
You say that
a British bulldog.
Israel will be launching a full offence. What does that mean? What is that likely to mean? We're already seeing targeted airstrikes onto the Gaza area. What else could we see?
What else could we see, Charlie? What else could we see?
Well, in the last 24 hours, the Hamas side, they have launched many targeted rocket attacks.
Okay, that's because that is not what she said. So instantly, before he's cushioning the blow, this is a propaganda technique. He's cushioning the blow of what Israel is going to do by explaining first what Hamas has done. He hasn't. Everybody knows. We already know this is happening, and this is the question: what is Israel going to do? Well, we know what Hamas is doing. Think about that.
Into Israel, reaching Ashkelon, where they offered a warning an hour before they sent rockets in there. The Palestinian Islamic Jihad in southern Lebanon also launched rockets into northern Israel.
That's interesting. They have to admit that the Palestinian, the Hamas actually gave warnings about the rockets going in beforehand, an hour beforehand, rather than 10 minutes you get from Israel. But still, what he's done, he's been asked the question, what is Israel going to do? And so he's saying what Hamas is doing.
And the Israeli side have reacted with dozens and hundreds of airstrikes into Gaza.
have reacted. They want you to know that, have reacted.
especially along the coastline.
But this isn't bottle rockets. These are airstrikes, military airstrikes. These are big bombs going off, not bottle rockets. Remember, one side has got little weapons, the other side's got super big weapons given to them by people like us.
The development that is likely now over the next 24 to 48 hours is a ground assault into the Gaza Strip. This hasn't happened by Israeli Defense Forces since 2014, but it's under.
Right, okay. I mean, they're desperate to do a bit of this. They have no idea how bad this could turn out, because I'm not sure if anybody remembers what 2014 was like. But they had to put a lot of propaganda sheen on that too, because basically the Israelis went in to Palestinian lands and on numerous occasions got their ass handed to them on a plate, because they think they're the bomb. That's a bad terminology. They think they're the best thing ever, and they go in and discover that these guys have been living under occupation for so long that they are naturally trained fighters in urban environments. That's why they got to just basically destroy it by sending in rocket after rocket after rocket after rocket after rocket after rocket. That's why they got to destroy them.
Understood that with the restraints being removed, as the defense minister says, and as more Israeli troops amass on that southern border with Gaza, which appears porous with terrorists crossing over, that a more direct ground invasion is likely into the Strip. And this will, of course, mean more death and more destruction.
Well, Charlie probably likes that. He's well into a bit of that. But the porous nature of the border, I mean, that has got to be questioned, because Israel never lacked in security on the border until suddenly now, when they're like, oh, look, we can barely maintain the border all of a sudden. Just happened all of a sudden. There's all of a sudden all the guards just go away. Place gets closed down for, oh, they've all come across. Oh, what a surprise.
Much more conflict.
Thank you very much indeed. Charlie Peters there, our reporter live from Tel Aviv, Israel, bringing us the...
Charlie Peters there for the British Army. I mean, GB News in over there in wherever.
The very latest on what is escalating between Israel and Hamas. Bringing in my panel on this. Ben, I'll start with you. Just reacting to what Charlie has said. Huge numbers of deaths. Now rumours, reports of babies being killed.
Here we go. Rumours, reports of babies being killed. Rumours. She's been much more specific about that. Rumours, reports of babies being killed. She said it directly. He was less so on all of that. Okay, what's this obvious tool of the British establishment going to say?
Action to how this is unfolding.
So, well, the first thing to identify is that this has all the hallmarks of a massive, audacious terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Okay, the first thing is to say that this has all the hallmarks of a massive, audacious, terrible terrorist attack. Like, you know, September the 11th was, January the 6th was. 7/7.
Hamas may be ostensibly the government of Gaza, but they have perpetrated this attack in the manner of a terrorist.
They have.
They haven't had any specific grievance that they've aired. They haven't targeted it.
Are you kidding me? Are you saying that Hamas has no specific grievance that they've aired? Are you seriously denying that Hamas has not aired their grievances? Did he really just say that? This is the stupidity. This is what hypernormalization looks like once you analyze it. It's just idiotic words. Doesn't make any sense. It's a collection of word salads by people who are tiptoeing around the truth.
Perpetrated this attack in the manner of a terrorist one. They haven't had any specific grievance that they've aired.
Wow, they haven't had any specific grievance that they've aired. It's not like they've said they've been occupied. It's not like they've said that they feel like their culture and their people are being ripped apart. It's not like they said any of that at all, is it? It's not like they actually said anything over the past, like, I know how many years they've been around. It was mid-80s one that it got made, so like 30, 40 years. They haven't said anything. They've been
They
quiet.
haven't targeted any military installations in Israel.
Well, I mean, that is, again, extremely debatable because under UN law, the UN, most countries haven't recognized um, Israel's borders as they currently are. And so that means anybody who lives in occupied territory, who's Israeli, is actually classed as a military combatant under international laws. Now, they all know this. They all know that gives them the reason that they say, oh, we can attack, because every single person who lives in occupied territory is a military combatant. The other thing is, it's like you're telling us that, but then it's like, you've got this guy on TV where he's talking about how they took his wife and his child or something, an Israeli guy, and he's like, please bring him back. And it turns out he's a corporal or something in the army. And it seems like they were targeting certain things. The event, the music event, I think that's like targeting the opposite than what they see religiously, maybe. But there is a lot that seems to be that there was elements of military targeting the military. This guy, Ben Habib, deputy leader of Reform. Wow, wait a minute, deputy leader of Reform. I'd be interested to hear completely what Reform are all about.
They've gone in big, and they've killed innocent women and children. They've targeted that party. They've taken a human wall of defense back with them into Gaza. So
yeah, of course. You take a human wall of defense because you know what that the Israelis are going to be less likely to strike do air strikes if they hit Jewish civilians who have been captured. Of course, they're set up to be that because it's an occupied territory, with Gaza being completely and utterly smothered, blockaded, not having proper function anymore, not allowed to actually be able to breathe. What do you expect to happen?
that if Israel attacks, they've got, I think they threatened to behead people in public if Israel attacks them.
If Israel attack, they threaten to behead people in public. Where is that? Where is that? Because that sounds like narrative creation.
Without warning.
You can find one person who says that and then say, "Oh, that's all of a mess." Of course, you know that is true. But yeah, what you're seeing at the moment is an attempt to try and stop Israel doing big attacks by keeping hostages. That's the reason why hostages are taken.
And they're continuing to target civilian populations. All of this is terrorism. None of this is...
All of this is terrorism. No, all of this is occupied territory, fighting in an occupied territory. It's the same thing we've seen over and over and manifest in different ways over a long period of time. Overall, about nearly 75 years this year in that sense, when 1948 and the creation of Israel. But it was happening before that. There was fighting going on in the land. Beforehand, it was Israel, it was Zionists and Arabs both targeting British, the British in Palestine. Now is something different, isn't it? Of course.
You know, what you might regard as a genuine war. And so the question that we have to ask ourselves, I think, is why would Hamas suddenly go out for this full frontal terrorist assault of Israel now, which they know is going to result in a massive reprisal,
Why would they do? Why, when we're suffocating a guy with a pillow, does he struggle? Why is this guy struggling? Why, when we're starving this guy to death, does he keep begging for food? Why, when we're starving him to death, does he keep begging for food? Why, when we're poking pins in this guy's eye, is he asking us to stop poking pins in his eyes? Why would they do that at this time when you're poking pins in their eyes?
Right, justified, completely supported by the West reprisal. And I think the answer to that... No,
go on, the answer. Okay, this is gonna be beautiful. The answer to that from this complete and utter establishment tool. You can hear in the air of his accent that he's an establishment tool anyway. But he's going to tell us now.
I can't know for sure what the answers are, but I think
But he thinks, what's the answer?
suspect the answers to that.
He suspects the answer to that is, go on, tell us the answer to that.
Lie outside Palestine.
Oh, lie outside Palestine, go on.
And really in the relationship that Israel was so close to getting with Saudi. And
oh, this is really interesting, go on.
Saudi and Israel were, for the first time, Saudi was going to recognize Israel's existence. There was a promise of more armaments, uranium.
Yeah, of course. Right. Okay. I got that as a lead Epstein researcher. I have to say I've got some issues that have come, and I said it myself at one point. I said I had been told, and I had been fed into me that the likelihood that Epstein had been killed because he had turned the Saudis away from the CIA and towards Mossad and looking towards Israel. But then when you investigate it, that's exactly what the Americans are trying to make happen, and the CIA are trying to make happen, so it wouldn't make any sense that he would be killed for that reason. He was killed for other reasons. He's killed to cover up a load of other things. He's killed to hide a load of other things. He was killed to keep skeletons in closets. That's why he was killed. But this whole, Saudi turning towards Israel, yes, it's happening because the Saudi government are awful. They're awful human beings. The Israelis, the government, they're awful human beings, and they don't care about their people. They don't care about ethics. They don't care about morals. They don't care about history. They don't care about anything. They will work with each other if it's lucrative for each other. Lucrative. The Saudis, the top guys on the top table, and the Israelis, the top guys at the top table, will sell out their own people over and over again. They'll sell out the world over and over again. It does not matter. Jews will be sold out by the Israeli hierarchy, and Saudis will be completely and utterly sold out by the Al Saud family hierarchy. That's the way it goes.
Nuclear development for Saudi, if it did recognize Israel. And I think Iran saw the sort of proxy battles that they've been having with Saudi through the Middle East for hegemony of the Middle East, moving decidedly in Saudi's favor.
I don't think lining with Israel would turn in Saudi's favor, because, to be perfectly honest, there's a lot of Muslims who would want to bring down the House of Saud after the alignment, and I think they know it. You know, you can have Mohammed bin Saud be very prevalent now, but eventually he's going to be ousted, and someone less keen to do extreme things is going to go in, and all of this stuff is going to disappear or dissipate or change into something else, because it's extremists being in charge at the moment that cause extremism to happen. Now, Iran is one of the most peaceful countries on earth. Do you know how many wars it's had in the past 300 years? I don't think it's any. it's other people who go to want to attack Iran. Maybe mainly the US. The US are desperate to spark a war with Iran. I mean, he was one of the ones on the axis of evil of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and Donald Rumsfeld. That axis of evil. There was Iran. What was it? Iran's Syria and Iraq and North Korea, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, but whatever, Iran's always been seen as one of the ones who's in trouble, who's going to do this, is going to do that. Iran have played a mean game, and if you analyze Saudi and Iranian tactics and military, there is no way Saudi can take Iran. There's no way Iran could take the Saudis. It would just be a stalemate. And I think America know this. They just want to cause instability in the region. It doesn't matter who it is, but they're always like fighting firing shots at the Iranians, always.
And over the last 24 hours, not surprisingly, Saudi has now cancelled its arrangements with Israel, and I think it's been a big geopolitical victory for Iran. So we have to look very carefully at Iran, and of course we know Iran is very closely allied.
They've only done it for the time people. The Saudis don't care at all. They'll sell out their own people in 2 seconds. They'll sell out anybody for some gold. The Saudis are well known. Sell out anybody for some gold.
With Russia. So I suspect Russia has a hand in all of this as well.
Ella, I think William Hague wrote in the Times this morning that
he once drunk 12 bottles of milk, 12 pints, and then did a milk round. That's what he wrote, isn't it?
he thought the motivation on the part of Hamas
William Hague wasn't looking good, was he?
would be to provoke such a strong response from Israel that Israel might lose the side of public opinion, essentially, for retaliating in such a deemed harsh way. Could that be what we see happen? It's terrible. We look at the bloodshed that is now on both sides. How do you think Israel can respond while keeping public opinion on side?
Well, look at this. They got in this. I've seen this woman speak before. She's one of the cause controversy crowd. I'm not sure. Is she spiked? I get a feeling she might have been spiked once upon a time. I can't remember. Still, what is this obsession with trying to make Israel always look like even if they retaliate, even if they kill thousands of people, they're still doing the right thing. See what that is. What is that? It's propaganda. What are people who try and push that? They're propagandists. What are they? Pro-Israeli propagandists. People who push that line are pro-Israeli propagandists. If your line is there are 1,000 people over here dead, 1,000 people over here dead, babies over here dead, babies over here dead, it's all bad, you're spot on. If it's one side's bad so the other side's good, you're a propagandist. That's the way it works, Propaganda works that way. Being a propagandist works that way. You're either telling the truth or you're lying for your side.
Well, I think it's really important to think carefully about how we in the West respond to this.
We in the West respond to this. All of us in the West. I mean, there are a lot of us in the West. And this is what? Her name is Ella Whelan. Ella Whelan, that's a nice name, isn't it? Ella Whelan. I'm just going to type it in quickly and have a quick look at what she's about as well. The journalist and author Ella Whelan. She's looking quite. Here you go. She's looking quite good here. I got a feeling she was Spiked. Yeah. Assistant editor of Spiked, and then freelance journalist since March 2018. I thought she was Spiked. So again, the same pool at the same time. So Spiked has this British Army guy who now works for GB News. Ella Whelan's now the commentator, a political commentator for GB News. I think a load of other Spiked people. And this is just like GB News is really like encapsulating that sort of area of supposedly independent journalism, which I think is a co-opted platform. I think most platforms are co-opted. Like, true independence is a really rare thing to find, and my experience has seen that you think people are independent. I trust you. They are being paid up the wazoo by people you will not like very much at all. It's quite amazing what goes behind the scenes of the independent media. But I tell you, this is not independent. This is still mainstream. They'll try and act like they're different, but they're not. This Ella Whelan has been on loads of Channel 4, all of these things. She's been on loads of them. They all use the same people, same cast, same crowd, same actors.
And I don't think it's possible or reasonable to compare the two, what the actions of Israel and the actions of Hamas and the...
There you go. It's not fair to compare the two. It is. Look, you can still compare them, but when you compare them and they're both murdering arseholes, you say, oh no, that comparison is two versions of murdering arseholes. Well done. Who's right? Israel. Israel has a right to defend itself by being a murdering arsehole.
The reactions of Israel, because we have to be pretty clear that Hamas is involved in and interested and invested in the mass destruction of Jews. This is
okay. So Hamas is invested in the mass destruction of Jews, means that Israeli defense force can airstrike children. Well done, Ella Whelan. You're right. You're right. Kill the children because Hamas want to destroy the Jews. Someone over there is ideologically opposed to the people over there, so let's kill their children and women in other airstrikes that won't be as targeted. Let's do that, shall we?
Isn't any longer. I think clearly
you got to do mental loops to be moral and ethical and have all of these views. You got to do mental loops. That's what spiked media people were really good at doing. Mental fucking loops. Don't question. Make it so visceral that it's hard to do those mental loops, and you just go, "Yeah." At the end of it, I agree with that.
Palestinian liberation movement. It's not, it's the questions of sovereignty and things like that, which are very relevant and important to debate in that region, have kind of been put by the wayside by the recent actions, and a group.
By the recent actions, partially why? Why is it put on the wayside? Because you can't compare them. Because you're not allowed to publicly. You're not allowed to talk about them. You're not allowed to compare them. One side's bad and the other side's good. You're not allowed to talk about anything else, Ella.
Interested in liberating people doesn't go around allegedly beheading babies.
Well, this is the problem. We're going to be
people who want to free people, liberate people, don't go around allegedly chopping off the heads of babies, decapitating babies. There's no evidence they decapitated babies. No one can stop from allegedly doing something because someone can allege something that isn't true. You can't stop. Somebody can't stop somebody else alleging something that didn't happen. Then what is she saying? Think about the mental loops that Ella's got to make, and you can hear it in her language. It's really hard. She has to spin the language really well and say things really carefully, or really carefully and say things really well.
Allegedly beheading babies.
Well,
allegedly beheading babies. Allegedly. So let's listen to you, Ella. What are you saying?
Have kind of been put by the wayside by the recent actions, and a group interested in liberating people doesn't.
By the recent actions and a group interested in liberating
go
people
around allegedly beheading babies.
Doesn't go around allegedly beheading babies. There is no evidence that babies have been beheaded. Zero evidence have been shown. That is like the tritest propaganda. That is really the lowest form of propaganda. That's all Ella and ex-Spike people want to do. They want to evoke that. So the people who have evoked that as being true are all former Spiked so far in this, all former Spiked media. And I think Spiked media was the antithesis, the created antithesis within the mainstream media. Is part of the neo-mainstream media that was created from around 2010 to 2015. A lot of money went into these sort of broadcast in supposed independent journalists or alternative media, what they saw as alternative media. A lot of those got co-opted during that time. But Spiked always tried to put them on, but you can't not allegedly do something if someone lies about you, because then it's being alleged. You can't control someone else's lie about you. So if they're saying without any evidence, like she's trying to do here, the babies have been beheaded, she's got to throw in allegedly, which then makes the sentence defunct. I want to hear that sentence. Think about the sentence. You might not agree with me on this. I don't know if you agree.
In that region, have kind of been put by the wayside by the recent actions, and a group interested in liberating people
doesn't go around allegedly beheading baby. A group by the recent action and a group that's after liberation doesn't allegedly go around. Again, as soon as you put allegedly in, the sentence is defunct and no longer true. It is built upon something which is a fallacy.
This is the problem, and we're going to be talking about how this has played out on our own streets, unfortunately. And
Oh no, they're not. Hamas are beheading babies on our own street now. Don't tell me. Or are they taking them out of Kuwaiti incubators? Let's find out.
There seem to be many people in this country who believe that Hamas are freedom fighters. And I think people need reminding that Hamas does not want freedom for the Palestinians. It wants the destruction of the Jewish state.
Okay, right. Oh my God. So you've got Ella over on the right there. She said this exact point just now, yeah? She said this exact point. The guy on the left completely agrees with that point. The news presenter is putting that point forward as fact, is not being impartial, is not thinking about it in any way. Listen to the way she words it. Oh my God, look. That little smile Ella will have at the end.
Well, this is the problem, and we're going to be talking about how this has played out on our own streets.
We're going to be talking about how this has played out on our own streets. Right, listen to this. This is a newsreader inserting the narrative into your brain directly.
Unfortunately, and there do seem to be many people in this country who believe that Hamas are freedom fighters. And I think people need reminding that Hamas does not want freedom for the Palestinians. It wants the destruction of the Jewish state and ergo the Jewish people.
So that is not a question. It's a statement of her own opinion, and she is not a panelist. She is saying what a panelist or an opinionated political correspondent or opinion person would say on a news show, not what a presenter would say. A presenter, that's not posed even as a question. She's just making a statement. Look, Hamas are not freedom fighters. I'm on British news. Hamas are not freedom fighters. Now, everything has to be viewed through that lens, whether you believe that or not. Because if you're fighting against occupation, if your land has been occupied and you're fighting against the occupation, and the people who are occupying you and their friends are telling you that the only ones who are fighting against that occupation are the ones who are wrong, then you know that is propaganda. You know it. All of the people within occupied territory have some form of right to resist. And that is not going to manifest in nice ways. And what is Hamas in the first place? Go back to the birth. It gets really complicated, you know. Really, really complicated. Trying to find out why there's so much instability in that region. You just discover that there's a lot of people in that region who are trying to create instability on all sides. That is true for everybody, not just for the one. While you say, and while she says, look, we've got to realize that Hamas is after the destruction of the Jewish people, you've got to also understand that some Zionists are after the destruction of the Palestinian people. You cannot accept one without accepting the other, because both of them are true. Hamas wants to destroy some of Hamas, probably not all of it. There's probably some less extreme, like people within that organization, but still, they know they want the Jews out of their land. And Israel want Hamas and all of the Palestinians out of what they see as their land. Eventually, the whole united Israel with no Palestinians in it, no Gaza Strip, no trouble like that. That's what's happening here. So the same thing is happening.
Hamas is a classified terrorist organisation by the British government, so there's no...
Yeah, by the British government is Hamas a terrorist organisation. What is Israel if it kills loads of people in vengeful attacks? What is it? What is the IDF if it's used to kill women and children and men as well?
Doubt about how we see Hamas in this country. And I do find it quite disturbing that anyone, frankly, in this country would support Hamas. I can understand sympathy for the...
Right. Well, of course people are going to support Hamas because Hamas stands for the Palestinian people, and they are, however much you try and say they're not, they are classic freedom fighters. They're classic. They're fighting for freedom and independence. And with that comes a whole creation, ideologically, philosophically, to fight for your entire life, to be brought up as a freedom fighter, to live under occupation the whole time. You will be given an ideology, you will create an ideology in your own mind that allows you to commit the actions that allow you to fight for freedom. And that often means extreme xenophobia, extreme racism, extreme hatred of the other side. I can tell you this is so because the British did it very well with the Nazis during World War II, with the Germans, with Jerry over there. Call them names, say they're terrorists, say they're doing the worst things ever while you're doing the best thing ever. This is just trite propaganda. This isn't even very good. These guys aren't even very good at propaganda, but they're doing propaganda right in your face. It is pasty o'clock here at GB News, and we're here with this complete and utter. Look at him. I swear they've taken all of the meat out of his soulful pastry.
2.3 million people in Gaza who have lived for many, many years effectively in a kind of semi-siege environment.
Yeah.
But that doesn't forgive for a second Hamas's actions and the way Hamas goes about it.
It doesn't make them possibly freedom fighters. For all of the want for freedom, and then they fight for freedom, then you can say, oh yeah, but they believe in this. But they're fighting for freedom while they're being oppressed, yeah? And they're not freedom fighters. No, they're terrorists. We gotta get this right. Right, okay, so the guys who are fighting for freedom while they're being oppressed are terrorists. And the guys who are oppressing those people systematically over a period of 75 years, escalating throughout that time, there's no, does anybody see where I'm going? I think you do see where I'm going. Where I'm going is that this is all dirty, but these are freedom fighters. The freedom fighters look dirty too. And you can be, I tell you, all of the allies of the enemies of freedom fighters will say what this guy is saying here. That's all he's doing. He's repeating lines. None of this is true. If you actually heard what he believed in reality, not what he's willing to say to his friends or even his friendship group or even his family, if you got to hear what he believes inside him, you'd say, God, this guy hasn't told a bit of truth in his life, because what he says is completely different than what he believes, because this guy will have a logical mind. He'll know the nuances behind it. Instead, it's one side is good, other side bad.
About his business. And I would urge anyone in this country who has any support for Hamas to think very carefully again. Hamas does not equate to Palestinians.
Okay, right. I'll think again. Do I have any sympathy for Hamas? Not while they're killing women and children and innocents. No, of course. I don't have any time. Do I think there's a reason behind why they did that? Yes. Massive reasons, enormous, glaring reasons, obvious reasons. Obvious. It goes on for a long time. There's a lot of evidence there. If you don't want to look at it, if you just want to say you can't excuse that, so don't look at all of the reasons why the area you'd look for the excuses. Don't look at that. If you look at that, then you're gonna, discover stuff.
Are not represented by Hamas. And the other thing to point out, I suppose, just moving slightly on, wasn't Suella Braverman's speech on multiculturalism in this country not working prescient? She made that speech a couple of weeks ago. She reiterated it.
Wow, look at this. Let's score some political points. While I'm here propagandizing and using the supposed death of babies, their beheading as propaganda tool, now I'm going to just throw in my support for Suella Braverman.
She made that in Washington, then she reiterated it at the Conservative Party conference. And here we have clear evidence of people on the streets of London who don't see this problem the way I would expect British people with British values to see it.
Okay, right. So wait a minute. He would expect people with British values to see it. So those people must be wrong. Don't tell me those people must be eventually put into some sort of gulag, yeah?
Which is an outrageous attack on a peaceful nation that was minding its own business.
What, is he talking about Palestine? Is he talking about 1947, 48, 49, all of what happened during that period and beyond? Is he talking about that, an innocent country that were just sitting there minding their own business?
There's a kind of anger.
Wait a minute, did he just say that about modern? It's still like,
Expect British people with
Go on, let's
British
hear that
values
again.
to
This is
see
amazing.
it, which is an outrageous attack on a peaceful nation that was minding its own business.
Minding its own business, even the context of now. A peaceful nation minding its own business by blockading a densely populated area and occupying someone else's land. Minding its own business. What are you doing? Minding my own business. We're in my house. Can you please stop being in my... No, you have to leave now. I'm minding my own business and I don't like you around. Well, I don't want you. I don't want you around. Shut up. I'm minding my own business. That's what I do. I'm a business minder.
There's a kind of anger, and it's an anger that's being expressed not from a British perspective, but from a non-British one, which means these people are here not feeling British.
Ella, do you
What the people are here not feeling British is why they don't feel Israeli. Is that what you're saying? They're not they're not attuned with Israel because they don't feel British, because they're waving the Gazan flag. Okay, you go and ask those people, what do you feel? I feel British. What do you feel the British are doing? I think they're doing something that looks like globalism. Oh, right, okay. So are they proud of being British? No, because they're too busy trying to be globalists. Do you see that the truth would be much more nuanced, and it would turn around to all of these politicians who sell you this crap? They're all, the majority of them, wankers.
I think what we've seen on the streets is evidence that multiculturalism is failing.
I don't think it's right to call Israel a peaceful nation that was minding its own business.
Yeah!
Well, it was at this point in time.
But I think this...
Oh, yeah, but now, now Hamas is a peaceful nation minding its own business then. At this time, right now. I mean, ignore yesterday and the day before and the day before. Ignore the past 75 years, and Israel were minding their own business. They mind their own business now. They're doing it now. They mind their own... quickly, bombs out. They mind their own business now. Is that the way? Minding their own business. This guy is like... I mean, that's hyper-normalization at its best. That's just beautiful. Everybody's just nodding away for a bit. And then Ella comes in, and the only one who can say something sensible is another one who looks like a construct.
This is the important thing, being able to untangle part of the problem of the rampant anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the West part of the problem, in particular in rising levels in the West, is because of the inability of people to untangle what has been happening.
And she keeps saying untangle. I think she's projecting the thought about her hair. I think she's projecting. She's got real doll hair, hasn't she? She looks like it's tangled up and it needs a good brush. I'm not saying that's negative, because she's a woman, she should brush her hair. I am a man, and I should also probably brush my hair, especially if I'm going on TV. But she looks like she's just got out of bed. She's just rolled out of bed in the GB News. Upstairs bunk rooms, and she's just rolled out. And then what she's saying, listen to what she's saying. Think about it.
Actually, in particular, in rising levels in the West, but I think this is the important thing: being able to untangle part of the problem of the rampant anti-Semitism that we're seeing in the West, actually, in particular, in rising levels in the West, is because of the inability of people to untangle what's been happening.
She's thinking of her hair.
To what Jake Wallace-Simons, the editor of the Jewish Chronicles, labelled Israelophobia.
Yeah.
But there are debates to be had about sovereignty, and important ones. I mean, I don't think anyone would stand here and say that
Israel propagandists push the term Israelophobia. I mean, the fact is that it's not Israelophobia. It's Israel owning everything in that area, and the other guys just being made homeless-ophobia. Let's go with that one.
Palestinians have no gripe, that there is nothing wrong with the way in which Israel is acting and has acted
Israel
historically.
minding their own business.
But at the moment, the actions of an Islamist force, which Hamas is, and in the context of what we've seen with Islamist terrorism, things that have happened, serious things that have happened on our own doorstep here in the...
Wait a minute, as what, 7/7 and 9/11, are you going to say that?
UK. the question basically comes down to people, which is what side are you on in the battle over Islamism and Islamist
There
terrorism?
you go, binary. Let's get down to a dichotomy. Shall we get down to a dichotomy, people? Yeah, okay. I think it's going to come down to which side are you on, us or theirs? Do you want to fight with us, or are we going to stick knives in you and jail you and censor you and shut you up because you agree with something different than what we agree with? Same humans, constantly doing the same thing all of the time. This has been one of the most frustratingly meatless pasties I've ever consumed. This has been a meatless pasty. This is terrible. This is awful. This is honestly some of the lowest form of arguing. Some of the most bizarre things have been said. I mean, just trying to come do their juggling around their ideas in their heads with the idea that Israel was just minding its own business and stuff. All of this is just, it's fancy now.
And it's pretty important to be unequivocal in condemnation of Hamas. And if you think that means giving Israel a free pass, then you have to look at yourself and try and understand why you can't disassociate Jews and Jewish people and anti-Semitism from a criticism of a nation and its actions.
No, well, she tried to end with a note that means that it's been impartial as a news report, but it hasn't, has it? It's been all on one side. It's all denying a load of facts. Some of the things they say are just, it's off the wall. I can't even believe they say them. I'm sorry if I was at all emotional during that news pasty. I really fed up of hearing these same old lines over and over again. Every time the Palestinians do something, they're not freedom fight. Anybody in the Palestinian side, they're not freedom fighters. They're terrorists, and Israel are mostly innocent all the time, minding their own business. That's the narrative that's been set down the whole time. It's completely unbelievable. We don't believe it. No one out there, even the people who are saying it, don't believe it. So that's why it is a state of hypernormalization. These people know it's not true. They're saying it to people who also know it's not true. Yet everybody's getting along and saying, oh, well, it's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Things are going to be the same. Oh, it's so annoying. Well, there you go. That, my friends, is a news pasty. Hope you enjoyed. I did.